Alright, welcome to this video. This video will walk you through the steps to create your expanded site plan for your plan set. It's assumed that you can bring in your title block in through AutoCAD Design Center like you've done for previous sheets. So I've skipped that step in this video, so you'll need to revisit a additional video or a previous video if you need to review that type of information. So here I have a title block. I've already filled it out of what I need to show on there. So here I've typed expanded site plan. I've typed the scale that I think I'm going to be using. Make sure that the scale matches the viewport once you determine what the viewport scale needs to be. I've also provided things to show on the site plan information. So you're going to include the property line, the building envelope, the curb gutter and sidewalk, utilities at the street. You're going to be tracing the exterior wall of your floor plan. You're going to be dimensioning all setbacks that are creating the building envelope. You're going to be dimensioning 2 corners of the exterior building face, minimum of 2 corners. You can do more than that. Any flat work is what we call concrete. So if you wish to show driveways and walkways and so forth and so on, you can incorporate those into your expanded site plan. You also have the ability to show any fencing, pools, anything that you want to show in terms of landscaping. You can show that on the site plan. Again, those 2 items are optional. So what we're first going to do is we're going to make the current layer depth points, or make your layer that you're using for your viewports current. Okay, then I'm going to create a viewport, and like you've done in previous sessions, you're going to make that viewport. Now what we want to do here is we want to encapsulate not only the exterior face of the wall of the house, but we also want to include the utilities and the entire limits of the property. Okay, and so to be able to do that, you're going to have to choose probably a different scale than you've chosen for your floor plan. So here we can start at quarter scale. Quarter scale would show the limits of the floor plan. However, I need to be able to show the boundary lines as well as the setback lines and utilities. So I'm going to have to go smaller than that. 3/16. 3/16 for me is not good enough, so I'm going to have to go down to 1/8 of an inch. So when I choose my scale, 1/8 of an inch, we get it nice and centered in that viewport, and then once we're ready to lock that viewport, we can come down to the bottom of the screen and click the lock button. So when you click the lock button, that locks the viewport scale. Okay, it does not lock any of the line work, it just locks the scale. Now when you're comparing how the lines look between model space, so if I click on the model space tab, we can see the line types in model space. However, when you jump over to your site plan, you may not see the dashed lines and the property line types that should be showing as you would see them in model space. So there is a command that you need to enter. The default for this command is set to be on, and so we want to physically turn it off. Okay, so I want to go to Alright, so there's a command in CAD that allows us to show the line types as we see them in model space, but show them in paper space. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the PSLT scale command. And what that's going to allow us to do is to change one specific setting. So if you do PSLT scale and you hit enter, we want to change that to the number 1. So when we change that to number 1, that means we're turning it on. So we hit 1, enter, and then if you regenerate, REA, regenerates the entire screen, then you will see the line types as they appear in model space. Okay? So that's your first command learning from this session. So PS line type scale allows you to change the line type scale for the specific viewport. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a dimension style so that it allows the text to plot at 1/8 of an inch tall. And so because I've chosen 1/8 of an inch for this specific viewport, the scale factor of 1/8 of an inch would be 96 scale factor. How did I get that? 8 times 12 is 96. So first I want to go to my dimension styles. Okay, we want to use our default and we want to create another dimension style for the 1/8 inch scale. So I'm going to create new. I'm going to give it a name and I'm going to call it 96 scale factor, and I'm going to hit continue. So there's 2 elements that you need to change. In the text tab, you're going to change the text style to a Tahoma 12. If you don't have a Tahoma 12 already in your CAD file, you're going to need to click on the triple dot, and then you're going to need to make a new text style that is made of Tahoma font name, but has a height of 12 inches. You'll see in my example here that I already have that created. So all I want to do is select that, set current, and close. When I do that, then I come to text style. I click Tahoma 12, and that will change the text height. So we have that one setting, and then the other setting is the next tab over called Fit. On Fit, we want to change the scale for dimension features to the scale factor, which would be 96. These are the only 2 elements that you will be changing in this particular dimension style, assuming that you used your default setting first. So we hit OK. Then we click on the 96 SF and we set that current. And then we can close that. Now what we want to do is we want to dimension 2 corners of this house. Okay? So it's assumed that you've already traced your polylines around the house. You're only tracing the exterior walls of the house. That includes the house as well as the garage. So you would trace the exterior face of the exterior wall on the A ano site layer, and then you would offset that line 6 inches in. So that represents your house floor plan for the extended site plan or expanded site plan. Okay? So what we're going to do is we want to make A ano site our current layer, and then we're ready to go. So we're going to go to the Annotate tab. We want to make sure that the text style is current for Tahoma 12, and we want to make sure that the dimension style of 96 is set current. Then what we want to do is we want to click, instead of using linear dimensions, we want to always use aligned dimensions. Aligned dimensions allow you to snap to the perpendicular face of any line. Linear dimensions only measure linearly, meaning they only measure horizontally and vertically. So we're going to use the aligned dimension style, and we're going to O-snap to one corner and O-snap to the perpendicular face of that line. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to come here, and we're going to go here, perpendicular. Okay. So when we do that, it shows up so that we see if we were able to offset this line 19 feet and 5/3/16, and I offset this line 39 feet 10 and 11/16, where those two intersect would be the upper right corner of the house. Then I'm going to do the opposite corner for this property. So again, I'm going to go to aligned. I'm going to O-snap to the house, and I'm going to go perpendicular to that face. And again, I'm going to go from here, perpendicular to the face. So that locates the house on the property. Next, what I want to do is I want to dimension the setbacks or the building envelope to the property line. So again, I'm going to do aligned. I'm going to click anywhere on this setback line. So you want to use your O-snaps. I always do nearest to select any nearest point. And then I'm going to click perpendicular. Okay. Then I'm going to do the back one. I could do midpoint, perpendicular. On this side, I can do midpoint, perpendicular. And the front, I can do nearest and perpendicular. If you wanted to do midpoint, you could do midpoint and perpendicular. You're just trying to figure out a place that you can best place it so that it doesn't overlap any line work. Okay. Then lastly, what you want to do is you want to physically label the areas that we are showing on the site plan. Again, the site plan is very, very simple. Okay. You're showing the property lines, you're showing the building envelope, you're showing just the exterior wall with a trace polyline. You can show any concrete, what we call flat work. You can show that if you wish to. Again, that's optional. Here I've shown a walkway as well as a driveway. Again, that is optional for this project. And you're going to be showing all of the lines that you have copied in from your civil drawing. If you need to review how to bring in line work from the civil drawing, you can use the second recording for the course, and that second recording will go over the command N copy. N is in Nancy, COPY. Okay. So again, the last thing that we want to do for this expanded site plan is we want to label the elements. And so because I have determined the scale of this viewport to be 1/8 of an inch tall, again, the scale factor is a 96. And when we take 96 times 1/8 of an inch, our text height needs to be 12 inches tall. So currently I have Tahoma 12 as my current text style. And so what I want to do here is I want to physically place text and label everything that exists on this sheet. So here I can do dtext. Says specify point, so I can click there. Says specify rotation. I don't want a rotation, so I just hit enter. And then I would say building envelope. Enter, enter, and that gets me out of the command. Once I have one, I can then copy it down, and I can say property line, okay, or boundary line, whatever you choose. Okay. Here we could say exterior wall, that sort of thing. So you want anybody that's looking at your plan to understand what they're looking at and what the lines represent. If you wish to create a separate legend for the various line types, you can do that as well, but that is optional. So you always want to make sure that you have what you need to see on the specific expanded site plan. Make sure you meet the requirements of this assignment, of this project, things to show on the site plan, and make sure your title block represents what we see here. So again, your sheet contents need to say expanded site plan. The drawing name has to be the correct drawing name. Drawn by would be your initials. Checked by would be my initials. Make sure that, again, the scale is correct per the viewport. Date, again, is the day that you submit it. And sheet number would be A.0.1 for this specific expanded site plan. That is your walkthrough. You have a PDF on Canvas to revisit. Thank you.